What happened to the Thunder Warriors after their breaking by the Custodes? Where did they flee to? And what did they do there? Friends, let's find out, and welcome to another 40k video. We draw on Dreams of Unity by Nick Kime. When we join the story, one Thunder Warrior is fighting in an arena and another is looking on. Cabe, the one in the arena, faces a man in gold. The warriors are fighting as gladiators in a lutus, and Cabe is injured in the fight. Seeing the injury, the Thunder Warrior in the stands jumps in to confront the one making holes in Cabe. He faces this man in gold. Not Custodes, a chrono gladiator, dressed in a mockery of a Custodes. A clock in the gladiator's face would gain more time with each victory. The Thunder Warrior throws his blade to end the chrono's life, after the death clock strikes zero, and would have killed the gladiator, if the man Stims still had a head. And this Thunder Warrior, Herrick, having saved his brother, now gives him the honoured death. After we get a glimpse how the minds of the Thunder Warriors are fraying, they get lost in their own memories, and as Herrick pulls Valua back to reality. Where to this time? Ursh, the sea ice plane. Are you back, brother? I asked. In the here and now? I am. A time-worn shanty town lay just off the outskirts of the arena, known as the Swath. It stretched for miles across the outer palace districts, an agglomeration of broken ships, industry-grade cargo containers, armour plates and anything else that fell from the smoke-choked sky. Tarragatta's Lutus was the largest in the underbelly and built to impress. Like the man who owned it, the hub had seen more prosperous times. He was a beggar king rapidly reverting back to just a beggar. The two Thunder Warriors, Herrick, the one we mentioned, and the one with him, go back to this Lutus, taking Cabe's body with them for it to be burnt. But first he was stripped of his armour, other trappings and organs which kept those still alive going. Terragatta, who is a human who the Thunder Warriors work for, helped them implant the organs, and this last group of warriors talk about how they miss the old days. Herrick speaks to his Dominus, who says their rival, Radic Clev, will seek payment for the loss of his clockwork gladiator. To help, Herrick is ordered to find Gyrock and bring him for the organ supply. And elsewhere we are shown another Golden Warrior, a real Custodes this time, has entered the area the warriors are fighting in. This guy is called Tagio Malkian. He's there to hunt the Thunder Warriors. Herrick wakes from a memory of the glorious past, of the unity of Terra, and he wakes up in a dive bar. Herrick slurs his words to Gyrock and looks to see everyone in the silo. This dive bar is dead. Everyone there. He sees Gyrock and his senses are also swimming away under a tide of memories. Caught up in them, he attacks his fellow Thunder Warrior. Herrick kills him, then cradles his brother's body to the ground and wept. And Herrick thinks we have lived too long, and he carries his brother towards the arena. But as he nears it, he sees the Dominus's hab is in flames. He places down the body and runs to find more, and carries out the body of his Dominus Tarragatta before the place explodes. And Herrick here wants to find his last brother, Vizula, in case he was the one who became lost in the drift of the past and had destroyed the Lutus and their master. He finds his fellow Thunder Warrior in a secret meeting place marked with the symbol of the Thunder Warriors. When they meet, he sees Vizula is blind and asks who did this, but Vizula is hurt and dies before he is able to indicate who it was. All he does say is that they have been hiding in the Swath. Herrick now knows his friends had not killed the place they had called home. The last warrior leaves his ring with his fallen friend, and he is fighting. Meanwhile, the Custodes has seen battle, and we are told the damage done in the area came from members of the Alpha Legion, and we learn also the date. These Thunder Warriors have lived since their culling by the Custodes through to around the time of the heresy. And it's here the custodian, Tagio Malkian, finds a corrupt Astartes, a member of the Alpha Legion, and other followers. The followers are mainly humans who have been marked with the Alpha Legion's symbol. The Custodes have been lured here as a sacrifice, for the Emperor's blood flowed in his veins. The Thunder Warrior makes his way toward the conflict, and then Herrick finds the Custodes facing the Chaos Marine. The Thunder Warriors first faces and slaughters the cultists, whilst trying to stay in the present, knowing if he drifted, then he and the Custodes would die here, after the beast turned to fight the Thunder Warrior. Evil was amongst us, defying the Emperor's rule of order, and I served the Emperor. I always have, I always will. It is my oath. It is the thunder and the lightning. The beast, or traitor Astartes, threw the custodian aside, casting him off like tough meat forgotten in preference of a sweeter kill. Herrick says I brandished my sword. For unity, I cried. We charged at each other, man against beast. It struck like a tank, smashing me off my feet. My sword had cut a groove in armour that resembled a arachnid carapace, only many times more robust. I staggered up, sword as heavy as a tombstone, skull pounding. And here Herrick begins to drift off. He sees the Sibir ice plain, smoke drifting from the Abinsa. He shakes off the dream. I scarcely parried a slashing talon. It had prodigious strength. The repelled blow nearly jolted loose my shoulder, but its presence felt wrong. A deep malaise, more than just physical, began to wear at me. Old voices of the dead, visions of carnage yet to come. My own ignominious death, sacrificed to some entity from beyond. I cried out and realised its talons ripped at my flesh. Taking a butcher's fill, I swung, cutting off a hand or a claw. The appendage flopped to the ground, flipped from back to front, and then scuttled spider-like into the shadows. Such horrors I'd barely seen the like. I backed away and knew I was dying, not from the wasting of my limbs and mind, but from the wound it had dealt. I felt it, I knew it. I barely had the strength remaining to lift my sword. I dropped the other blade. It had scattered away into the shadows where the spider hand had sought refuge. I slashed wildly, trying to hold off the beast. It laughed at my efforts, its voice inhuman enough to set the hairs on the back of my neck on end. Then I reached down, out of instinct or by design, I could not be certain, and felt the grip of the rad pistol, the mark of unity pressed against the palm of my hand, as I clenched it loose of the holster, not knowing if it would even fire. I clenched the trigger. A focused burst of intense radiation struck the beast in its torso. The mortal shell it wore shuddered. It sagged, momentarily weakened. In that moment I swung the broad blade with every ounce of my strength and cleaved through shoulder, through torso, through neck. It should have been dead, but instead it mewled and staggered, its plaintive wailing enough to set my teeth on edge. And I think here I may have picked up earlier wrongly. I think this is probably a demon actually. Now let's go back to the Thunder Warrior. Then I fell, unable to stand any longer, and felt the depth of my failure. For unity I spat, blood lacing my phlegm. For unity, echoed the custodian, rising up behind the beast, his great golden blade splitting the beast's head in two. A second thrust of that perfect sword pierced where the heart should be. That beast now prostrate on the floor. A shriek tore from its mouth grill, a ghastly and inhuman sound. Tower smoke issued from the joints in its armour, like a guttering candle starved of air. Is it dead? I asked, sunk to my knees and leaning heavily on the pommel of my sword. The custodian looked at me, and I felt the weighing of my judgment in his wary gaze. At length he nodded. In a manner of speaking, yes. You have my thanks. Herrick, I said, recognising the pause as an invitation. Darren Herrick. Thunder Legion? It was my turn to nod. I thought your kind were all dead. We are, near enough, replied Herrick. Tagio I'm in your debt, Darren Herrick. Terra is in your debt. Then I have one favour to ask of you, Herrick said, raising my hand to stop Tagio from sheathing his sword. He looked at me, that impassive mask as unreadable as a statue, but then I saw the slightest nod. As the grip of mortality closed around me, I felt the dream, smell and taste at first. But then I began to hear the cheers of victory as the lightning banner was lifted from the sky. I stood upon the slopes of Mount Ararat, Cabe and Gyrach and Vesela at my side. Reality grew fleeting, though I heard the soft clank of Tagio armour as he came to stand before me, and the scrape of his blade as he brought it aloft. Give me the honoured death, I said, and the cheers rose louder, chanting over and again, unity, unity, unity. I closed my eyes as tears of joy flowed down my face and whispered for unity and heard the blade fall. And that, friends, will wrap up today's video on the Thunder Warriors and what happened to them after their ranks were broken by the Custodians. Pretty good. It's nice to see a little bit of characterization and honor given to the ones here, even if they are physically failing.